Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football. Brian Kelly, the LSU Tigers, land another fascinating defensive back commitment and four-star safety CJ Jimcoily from Nashville, Tennessee. You look at CJ, I think the biggest thing you want to talk about is not only the size that he has at 6'3", 205. This kid is extraordinarily long in the arms, and he plays cornerback, he plays safety, but when you get to see him play press man cornerback, use that length to put his hands on wide receivers, that's probably when he's at his best. You can't teach length in the arms. He has that, which I think gives him a lot of upside at the collegiate level. You take a look at some other attributes that we really like and look for. One is ball skills. This is a kid that uses that frame when that football is in the air. We see a lot of defensive backs that might be premier athletes in terms of speed and movement skills, but really struggle to play the football in the air. CJ Jimcoily is extremely composed when the football is in the air. There's no panic in his game, just goes up, makes plays on the footballs. And I think the last thing you want to talk about is the speed, where there's no verified track times to point to and say he's burning fast, like a guy like DJ Pickett who runs a 10.72 in the 100-meter dash. That being said, you turn on the film and say, we don't have many question marks about the speed. And when you start combining those three pillars in terms of size, ball skills, and speed, those are normally the three boxes we want to see checked with these defensive backs. Really excited to get into a few different conversations. One, what position and what role is he going to play in this Blake Baker defense? Because I think there's a couple of different spots that you can put him in the secondary. I think more importantly, get into the film and talk about what he brings to this LSU defense. Before we do, and as always, just want to say thank you to you guys, to the LSU fans. Y'all know I have a blast breaking down these commitments. The amount of support you guys have shown all summer long, it's been amazing. We appreciate you guys. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. And without further ado, let's get into CJ. And again, I think it starts with the size. It is really hard to find the defensive backs that have this kind of size. And we're starting to get a picture, of what Blake Baker wants to fill this secondary with. You look at DJ Pickett, you look at CJ. These kids are long, they're big, they're physical. LSU wants versatility in the back end of this defense. You even see it during fall camp, cross-training a lot of different guys at a lot of different positions. One of the things Blake Baker does exceptionally well is use his talent the right way. I look at a guy like CJ Jimcoily, and we're going to get into the film and have a deeper conversation about this. I think there's a couple of different positions that he could play within this LSU defense. First, boundary cornerback. That's where he primarily played at his junior year of high school. This kid is long. He's a smooth mover. And although we're not really sure about the top end speed, he uses that length to really control how fast wide receivers can go. I think he can play boundary cornerback. Now, personally, in my opinion, I would play him at that safety role because, one, he has those man coverage abilities. So if you want to put him in the box, put him man coverage with tight ends or slot wide receivers, he can certainly hold up. But you look at the length and the ball skills that this kid has, kind of similar to the conversation we had about DJ Pickett. It's hard not to want CJ just kind of roaming that deeper third, taking the football away. And so because of that versatility, I think he's a fascinating prospect for LSU. Now you get into the film, one, there's a lot of physical traits that you like in CJ's game. But I think most importantly, this kid's a really polished defensive back. I mean, he's coming from a top 25 high school program in Lipscomb Academy. These guys put out a ton of really good football players to the collegiate level. You start rolling through the film, one, the instincts. I mean, he's going to sit here in zone coverage, eyes on the quarterback. This is kind of why I want him to play that safety spot, where when you let CJ Jimcoily just kind of sit back in zone and look at the quarterback, read what the quarterback's doing, and then break on the football, that's when he's at his best. You continue to roll through it. Again, eyes on the quarterback. We're coming off one route, cutting off the pass, making a play on the football. When that football's in the air, he has that ball's mine mentality, which you want in the safeties. This is a really impressive rep where it kind of gets beat off the release. And again, you sometimes have question marks about the short area quickness. Another reason I might want him at that safety spot. I think he might struggle dealing with some of the movement skills you see at that boundary wide receiver spot. What I love about CJ, though, never panics. This kid is super composed. There's a little separation created. When this wide receiver's hands go up, we're going up with our hands too, really breaking up the pass. A lot of young defensive backs really struggle with that concept. When they get beat, they just kind of tackle and they panic. CJ just never panics. And you'll see this a couple times during the film. When that football is in the air, he just knows how to handle his business. Again, that separates a lot of young defensive backs who we like a lot. And then you see the really good ones who are good at this. You continue to roll through the film again. I think another thing you'll see, this is where if you're going to play him at cornerback, you want to play him at press man. Like when he has the ability to put his hands on wide receivers, squeeze them to the boundary, this is a pretty good football here. And CJ, again, when that football's in the air, he's going to get his head turned, locate the football, and then go break up the play. Very little panic in his game when that football is in the air. It's something that's rare to find with these young defensive backs. I think CJ has it. Continue to roll through the film. One of the things that I think is really impressive for his size, and we kind of have question marks about the short area quickness. He's kind of a smooth mover, though. I mean, take a look at throttling down, sinking those hips, changing directions, then going out, breaking on the football. He's so long. You watch this play again. One, kind of impressive movement skills for someone who's 6'3" in terms of change of direction and sinking those hips. Even if there's a little separation, he's getting those long arms into that wide receiver and separating the pass catcher from the football. And it's on a consistent basis on this film. That's one of the things I really appreciate from CJ. Again, really smooth. I mean, you talk about sinking the hips, changing directions for someone who's 6'3", 205. These are some really impressive reps that make you optimistic that he can handle himself in man coverage, even if he's a safety. Like this play a lot. You talk about a guy that, wrong play, but again, very similar look here. Very smooth, in phase, not a lot of separation, using that length to break up the pass. There's a couple of different things you really like from CJ. Again, working as a boundary cornerback, I really do like what he can do with this length. I mean, he just gets his hands on so many footballs. It's really hard to work a throwing window around a kid that is as long as CJ. Really nice. So this is kind of the position that I would expect him to play, where you're that safety, but if a team wants to bring pressure, he can come up and play in man coverage. Really, really impressive stuff. And when that football's in the air, again, never panics, goes up, plays the football at a high level. A lot of things to like about what CJ brings to the table. And again, plays a lot of different positions, whether it's boundary cornerback, whether it's that nickel spot, whether it's that deep safety. He can do so many different things in the back end. I think that's what you love about him if you're an LSU fan. This is where he's probably at its best, right? Playing that deeper half, it looks like, maybe that robber role, and just firing downhill, controlling the middle line, controlling the middle of the field. That's kind of what you like to see. You look at LSU in the 2025 class, they are rolling. And I think for LSU fans, I think Brian Kelly is finally starting to settle in as a recruiter for this LSU program as he continues to get his kids from the high school ranks. I'm fully confident that LSU is going to be competing at the highest level of the SEC. Really big fan of this kid. Wanted to hop on, talk a little bit about what he brings to the table. Appreciate y'all rocking with the fellas. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel, and we'll talk to y'all later.